Om. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahano Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavaditamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Sadashiva Samarambam Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam Narayanam Padmabhavam Vasishtam Shaktim cha Tatputra Parasharam cha Vyasam Shukam Gaudapadam Mahantam Govinda Yogindra Madasya Shishyam Sri Shankaracharya Matasya Padma Padam cha Hastamalakam cha Shishyam Todakam Vartikakara Manya Smadgurum Santatama Tosmi Shruti Smriti Purananam Alayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavat Padam Shankaram Loka Shankaram Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Sutrabhashya Kritau Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punah Samastajana Kalyani Niratam Karunamayam Namami Chinmayam Devam Sadgurum Brahma Vidvaram. Namah Shri Shankarananda Guru Padan Bhujanmani Savilasa Mahamoha Graha Grasaika Karmani. In the 29th verse in this chapter 4, Vyanjago Vayata Loko Vyangyanya Vyangyasyakaratam ityayat Sarvartha Vyanjakatvat hi Arthakara Pradrishyate. Arthakara. So, Yata, just as Alokaha, the very sunlight which is capable of manifesting everything. Vyanjaka, one who is Vyaktim Karoti, Vyanjanam Karoti. So that which is capable of manifesting. Vyangyasya akaratam iyat. The light that is coming out of the sunlight, and when we see the object, we are not actually seeing the object, but not just the light that is emanating or reflecting out of that object. The form that the eyes can capture is only light. It is between light and darkness only the eyes can work. Colors, of course. So the light that is there reflecting in every object is what is captured by the mind. Really, the object is not captured. Sarva Artha Vyanjakatvat Dihi. The mind or the intellect here, what it does in the same way, when it is thinking about an object, it takes that particular form. Artha akara ishyati, pradrishyati. Only artha akara. The object, the form of the object is created in the mind. So this is very deep understanding, because we always talk about vairagya, talk about dispassion. How that is possible? हमको जानना चाहिए कि really objects are outside, whatever is there, are really outside only. What we take in is the form that is created by our mind. So the world of objects around us by themselves are not the cause of the bondage. That is what is being established here. The way the mind takes that form, that is the cause of the bondage. So continuing on that point, now you see, Maturmanabhimanishpattihi Nishpannam meyameti tat Meyabhisangatam tacha Meyamatvam prapadyate Maturmanabhinishpattihi Nishpannam meyameti tat Meyabhisangatam tacha Meyavatvam prapadyate. Matu. Here, Matu means not mother or something. Coming from the root word or the word Matru Shabda. Tr, not Matra, Matru. What it means is to measure. That which is capable of measuring. So the jiva, the individual who could cognize, favorite word of his. The cognizing entity, the one individual mind or intellect, which is a reflection of consciousness, which is capable of cognizing everything. That one, what it does is, the mana abhinishpatti. Mana means to measure, to cognize. Nishpatti, it accomplishes that. So the one which is the capable of cognizing is intending to cognize. Out of the cognizer, cognition is produced. What is cognition? Again, as we saw, according to the objects perceived, the mind takes that form. That is what is called cognition. There are two aspects to this cognition. One is taking the form, recognizing, recognizing. The word re-cognizing. So here, when that is come, meyam iti yatat. That nishpannam meyam iti. Whatever it is intending to cognize, I want to know. Intending to know, intending to comprehend, intention to recognize it. So therefore, that very ability to cognize going towards the object, that is called Meya Abhisangatam Tacha. It goes and embraces the object to be cognized. Meya Abhatvam Prapadyate. Then only it assumes that form. Abha means sama. Meya Abhatvam, of the same nature, prapadyate. So the object that is cognized, the thought becomes of that particular form, similar to the object. This is a very interesting point. When I open my eyes and look at an object, the object is actually perceived as only light by my eyes. But the mind is capable of assuming the form of the chair first, and then comes the form I know. Phalavyapti, Vrittivyapti and Phalavyapti. So if you see the explanation that is given here, the psychology of cognition is like this. Jiva is a organizer, which is produced by a particular individuation of the all-present substratum of the ground consciousness. Meaning, the original consciousness that is present, which is present in all, as it reflects in the individual dhi, which is called as Chidabhasa, that is what is called Jiva. It has all the capabilities of the consciousness, except that it is not all-pervading one. Just like the sunlight is there, but the light which is reflected on a surface or a water is also light only, which is also able to illumine things, but a limited manner, right? Depending upon that. So that's called ground consciousness. That is the ground consciousness, which is the exercise of the prior Maya. Because without the dhi, reflecting media, the jivatva or jiva as an individual light cannot exist. So the dhi, the buddhi, reflecting media, is a product of Maya, and therefore in that only the ground consciousness takes place, which is reflection. Now, the Maya wills to individuate and quicken the understanding of the intellect into the I consciousness, the jiva. So the dhi or buddhi, which has this reflection of consciousness, is now of the impression I can know. Janami iti pravartate, right? Which you have seen in Atma Bodha also. What is that verse? Atmanas satchidamshascha buddhir vriddhiriti dvayam sanyojya cha avivekena janamiti pravartate. Satchit amsha of consciousness and vritti that takes place. Vritti here means the reflection of consciousness, individualization. There, the combination of that which makes it appear that I know, I can. Avivekena. So the delegated or the reflected consciousness is naturally endowed with the volition and affection as a result of prior karmas. Now the subtle body is able to derive its individual desires from Karana Sharira. Without the reflection of consciousness, it is incapable of taking the information from the Ananda Shrupa, the causal body, to execute. We have seen that link between these two. If that is what happens in the state of deep sleep, where the connect between the Ananda Sharira or the Anandamaya Kosha and the Sukshma Sharira is not maintained. Therefore, Anandamaya Kosha alone is there without any expression of vasanas. While the moment a person wakes up, the reflected consciousness connects to the causal body and starts individual desires. Now, it is like what do you call that? When your computer is in hibernation mode. It is quiet, doing nothing. Once you touch the mouse, immediately. Whatever is being already done yesterday night, which is not completed or you have not saved it, do you want to save it? It does not ask, do you want to save? Before you shut down also, it will ask, do you want to save? But here, it doesn't ask. It automatically saves everything without you even asking for it. So the individual karmas, that is desire and karma of that individual, starts to push this idea of I want to experience something. So the cognizer wants to know something extraneous, impinging on the sense organs. The sense organs by themselves cannot act on. Therefore, the individual consciousness or reflection consciousness, based upon the desire, wanting to have an experience through these sense organs, then whatever be the case, the desire brings, this is the first condition. Wanting to enjoy, wanting to experience is the first movement of that cognizing entity. Second step is, this desire brings about a modification in the mind. That is called sankalpa. See, an object which I have never experienced, I would not have that in my mind. An object that is experienced by me but does not have the content of happiness also does not bring about the thought easily. What is this desire? Desire is always because I want to have a joy of experiencing that particular object. That creates a vritti. Therefore, modification of the mind takes place, which is the same as modification of consciousness. Because after all, reflection of consciousness alone is going through these changes based upon the kind of desire that one has. So, modification of consciousness. Here, I consciousness, not the original, Chidabhasa here, which is itself modification of the substratum consciousness. It is itself, because the individual looks at it that way. This proceeds to go outward in search of the vaguely desired object. Because when we have an impression of the masala dosa, it is not looking for a particular size and color and shape. In general, masala dosa desire is there. Whether it should be dark brown or light brown or yellow or soft or thin or crisp. Those details are further later. So when we order also food, dosa, which is dosa, rava dosa, crisp or soft, crisp, with potato or without potato, with potato, with onion or without onion. So by the time you answer all this question, you will have lost the appetite also. The details are not vaguely. So this is the step number 3. That is the search so the proceeding towards in search of the particular object of desire. So this search may not proceed beyond the brain, where it may found the form of the desired object. See, sometimes we may have a desire for a thing and you are in Korea. Masala dosa. So in your mind itself, you start enjoying. If only I had. In front of you is only noodles sitting there. So you may not find it outside. So it can that's what happens in dream. Even as the external objects are absent, the mind is capable of enjoying a thing which it wants to enjoy inside itself. So therefore, this search may not proceed beyond the brain, where it may find a form of desired object. When it then goes back to sometimes when there is no impinging instances, it continues. A desire may arise in the eye consciousness and the search continues, maybe inside the body. As in the case of producing bodily pain, to study its nature, meaning it may not find it happily inside, but it may not want to give it up also. But when it starts to proceed outside, maybe outside the body until the object is searched, and comes in direct contact with the sense organ, matra, sparsha, then, and in that above proceed to produce the ending. Above process is produce ending the congregation, meaning then the object is really perceived by the senses and a modification in the mind about the object has taken place. This is the interesting thing. In Manasa Ullasa of Bhagavan, that is Sureshwaracharya, he has written on Dakshinamurti Stotram, his commentary, Vartika. It's called Manasa Ullasa. This particular verse in 3rd verse of Dakshinamurti, Yasyaiva Spuranam Sadatmakam Asat Kalpartakam Vasate Sakshat Tattvamasidi Veda Vajasa Yo bodhayatya shritan yaksaksha karanat bhavenna punaravrittir bhavam bonidau tasmai Sri Gurumurtaye namayidam Sri Dakshinamurtaye. This is the third verse. The first line says, Yasyeva Spuranam Sadatmakam Asat Kalpartakam Bhasate. And that, Sureshwara started writing that particular line. That is, Yasyeva Spuranam. Atmanaha eva Spuranam. This self alone is causing the Spuranam, the positive existence or giving existence to everything. Everything that even though they are asat. Sad atmakam asat kalpartakam vasate. So even those whose purana, whose presence, which is of the nature of sat, sadatmakam, and this entire world of objects which is said to be asat, shines as though existing. So this is first line. Yasyeva Spuranam Sadatmakam Asat Kalpartakam Vasate. Asat Kalpa, meaning equal to that of totally unreal. But we cannot say they are not existing. That is the point Sureshwaracharya is trying to make it. Sureshwaracharya is in line with Shankaracharya, would say it is not, the world is not the same way always. So the difference between the Buddhist point of view of asatness or absence of the world versus Vedanta's asat word is totally different. One says it doesn't exist, other says it doesn't exist the same way all the time. It's temporary existence. Again, temporary existence does not mean it is there sometime, it is not there sometime. No, it is there but changing. And therefore, one cannot misunderstand. Very many people think that Shankaracharya is a pseudo-Buddhist, disguised Buddha.
Because the word they use is crypto.
Okay, crypto Buddha, right? But it is not. Because there that side of that argument comes later on. The argument is in this very Panchadashi itself, it's noted there. Now he say, in Vartika he says, Asat kalpeshu bhaveshu jadeshu kshananashishu astitvam cha prakashatvam nityat sangha kramadishwarat. Asat kalpeshu bhaveshu involved is considered, which has considered as non-existing and merely an imagination. Jadeshu, those which are inert. Shananashishu, which are constantly changing their nature every moment. Astitvam cha prakashatvam, even though they are constantly changing, but they exist and they are known. Astitvam cha prakashatvam nityat sankramadi ishwarat. Ishwarat nityat sankramadi. It is because of the constant presence of Ishvara alone, they are able to enjoy their existence and revelation. Outside world is able to be seen and perceived by us is because of the constant presence of Ishvara, whose nature is Sat and Chit. So the passing on Sankrama is not like a passing on the heat from the fire to the iron ball. In that case, reality will have to be considered for the iron ball, which is against the Advaitic position. It is more like a borrowed reality of the snake in the rope or similar in the nakra. Nakra in Hindi mein kya hoga? Nakra means false. Naked. Naked?
That word is naked.
Nakra. in English.
In the silver, right?
The appearing like silver, which is actually a shell. Mother of pearl. Okay. Wherein the snake or the silver do not exist apart from the substratum which alone is there. Now, the example that is usually given is that a iron ball is there, and the fire that is from the heat from the fire is transferred into the iron ball. So the iron ball appears to have the heat. It is, it's pretty bright, hot heat. But this example is not to be applicable to the to this particular context, because it has the temporary presence of heat there. After some time, it slowly goes and disappears and becomes. But in the case of snake and the rope, right, the temporariness is not stopped until realization. The snake is snake until it is known as rope. Whereas in the case of the fire that is borrowed by the iron ball, without you interfering with that, it disappears. How long it will be there? You keep on waiting, it will disappear. But snake won't disappear. Until you realize it never disappears. So the example that is to be understood, that is called Sankrama word that is used here. Nitya Sankramat Ishwarat. Sankramati Ishwarat. Atma Satvaiva Sartesham Bhavanam Tadodika Tadeva Spuranam Jaisham Natma Spuranato Adhikam. Atma Sattva Eva Sarvesham Satta Esham Bhavana. Existence of all objects are nothing but the existence of Ishvara. Atma Sattvena, of the self alone, Sarvesha Satta Esham Bhavana. Na Tataha Adhika. Not beyond that. Without the existence of the self, and the universal self being considered as the Ishvara here, without that, there cannot be the existence of any of the objects, being the substratum of all. Tata eva spuranam. So also the revelation of them, they are coming to be known. The revelation is also esham of the consciousness only. Na aspuranataha adhikam. And they are not different from. So, the point that he is trying to make is, if the chair is perceived, it is not because of the chair. Because it has no ability to reveal itself without the presence of consciousness. Its existence is also because of consciousness. It is being seen or known is also because of consciousness. Satta tata eva spuranam. Existence and revelation, both. This is the point Panchadashi is trying to, that's why he quotes from Manasollasa there. Jnanani bahurupani tesham cha vishaya api ahankara anusajyante sutre manigana iva. So various kinds of perceptions that are there, and connected objects also, together in the ego sense, like the group of pearls in a string. So what is that here? All the various things that are perceived, one after another. Jnanani bahurupani. Realization or cognition of all the objects, tesham cha vishaya api, are also connected objects as well. The objects and the cognition, both of them, ahankar anusajyante sutre maniganaiva. So when we are seeing something, there is a constant cognition of things, and each one of them are being owned up by the individual saying, I know, 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 I know. So the ahankara continues like a string, Consider ahankara as a string, in that all the objects or cognitions are like a pearl. That's why he uses a sutre maniganaiva. See, he says, when the light of Atman is reflected in the mind, it is called ahankara or egoism, which is what is the jiva. There are many words for the jiva iti katyate, chidabhasa iti katyate, ahankara iti katyate, manaha iti katyate is known. This itself is the jiva. The individual soul, the various kinds of knowledge that rise out of the perceiving various objects of the senses coalesce in this ego sense. The existence of those objects, satta, and the knowledge about them, spurana, are perceived only through the ego sense, which again is only a reflection of the spurana of the Atman. Without the spurana or the ability to reveal and the existence of the consciousness, there cannot be. In the last two verses, existence itself has been denied in the objects of the world. Here, granting the empirical existence for them, their unity in the Atman consciousness is being shown. Their independent existence is denied. Now, here is Sutra Maniganayana is taken from the Gita, Bhagavad Gita. So there also Bhagavan says, that Sutra Maniganayana, what is the verse there? Matta paradaram nanyad kinchidasti dhananjaya mai sarvamidam protam Sutra Maniganayana. Now continuing, Prakasha abhinnam eva etat vishwam sarvasya vasate lahari budbudi budadinam salila napratak stitihi. Prakasha abhinnam eva etat vishwam. Prakasha abhinnam. Without that, with non-different from that consciousness which is of the revealing capacity, idam tat vishwam sarvasya bhasate. It is present everywhere. It is seen everywhere. Like what? Lahari budbudadina, like that of the wave, the bubbles that arise, and the lahari, the waves that arise, salilat, out of the water, na pritak stitihi. They are not independent of the H2O. Whether it's a bubble or the waves, etc., even though they appear different from each other, but they are not. Now comes the important point, very important point. Now you see, Janamityeva yajnanam bhavanavishya vartate jnatam mayedi tapashad vishram yatyantaratmani. First thing is Janami. I know. So when I look at an object, the first thing that comes is, I know the chair. Janami iti eva yat jnanam bhavan avishya vartate. Bhavan vishayan. So the knowledge that enters into the object producing the awareness, I know. Then, jnatam maya iti tachtab paschat. It is known. Now you see, one is present, another is past. Janami, present. Then it says jnatam. This jnatam is a conclusion of the cognition. First step of the cognition is I know. That is vritti vyapti. Jnatam, phalam. So jnatam maya iti tapchatat vishramyadi antaratmani. So the knowledge which enters into an object, producing the awareness, I know this object. Later on, rests on the inner self as this is known. When it comes to realization, Palavyapti, we will discuss, I think Vedas are also, we discussed this point, those who have studied them. In the case of Brahman, that is not the case because it is not an external object to be known. Therefore, I know doesn't happen there. Anyway, we'll come to here back. This proves that Spurana or revelation is the quality of Atman and not the outside object. Because the object, the being there wherever they are, this process of cognition starts from the Chidabhasa. And through the senses, when it is perceived, and the very process of even to know is also started from here only. The consciousness itself is the one in the limited manner as Chidabhasa has the volition to cognize, and then having cognized, it comes to have an impression, I know. That is what is completeness of the cognition. And so this, when you slow down the process, you will realize starting point is from here, ending point is also here only. External object, therefore, is only what do you call that as what do you call that? Agent. What is that word? Only a supporting agent. What is there's a word for that? What is it called? Catalyst. Catalyst. Now you see, in the coming back to our point here, the next verse, which will explain this point, Satyevam Vishayau Daustau. No, Daustah. Satyevam Vishayau Daustah. Gatau Vrinmaya Dhimayo. Vrinmayo maname yasyat sakshi bhasyastu dhimayah satyevam vishayo daustah gatau vrinmaya dhimayo vrinmayo maname yasyat sakshi bhasyastu dhimayah. If things are going above your head, it is expected. When it comes to this philosophy, you have to be very careful that you do not take any word for granted. It is said, it is true, there are two things here. Sati, Satya, Sati Eva, Sati Evam Sati, Evam Sati, in this way. Vishayo Dvaustah. There are two things here. What is that? Gatau Mrunmaya Dhimayo. In this cognition of an object, two kinds of objects. One is material, another is mental. Gatamaya Dhimaya. Mrunmaya or Gatamaya. Mrunmaya, Gatau, Mrunmaya Dhimayo. In the cognition of the Gata or pot, the material one is Mrunmayaha Manameyaha Syat. Material is the object cognized by the mind being modified by the form of the material objects. And like you take a clay and make any form, that form that clay makes is the form that you wanted. Whether it's an elephant or dog or whatever it is. So it has a material called the mud or the clay, which makes that particular form. But the form should be known as what it is. Correct? If you make a form, and in sometimes some of the public places in Europe and all, they make out of stone and metal, etc., some peculiar thing. Kya hai? I can understand it is a seed, but what it is? Now, Sakshi Bhasyastu Dhimaya. But the mental is cognized by the witness consciousness, meaning consciousness which is eliminating that very vritti, the modification that has happened, that is the one which makes it complete. Therefore, being affected by the material, coming in contact with the mind and evoking its latent desire for enjoyment. Meaning, the original thought of cognizing that happened from the desire of the cognizer, it's complete only when that object is known. The object has taken a form. In the mind, it has taken a form. But then it is complete only when it is witnessed by the consciousness. Meaning, it illumines it with the help of the See, now the author returns to the topic of discussion. No, that's the next verse. Sorry. So this knowing is, perception is one thing, and knowing is complete only when that is lit by the consciousness there. Now, having understood this, now the topic is what? The original topic, Ishwarasya Srishti is not a cause of bondage. Jiva Srishti is the cause of the bondage. He is reminding that. You cannot forget that in the process of discussion. Now, where is this Jiva Srishti starting? The object that is perceived coming into our mind by itself is not Jiva Srishti. Jiva Srishti comes only when the second aspect comes. I know. The I know along comes with what? I like. I don't like. I want. I don't want. This is where the cause of problem is. So therefore, the object's cognition of the object by itself is not an issue. So where is the detachment, dispassion should be? Tell me. The arrangement of the objects by themselves need not be disturbed at all. Let it be so. Because it's the Ishvara Srishti. When you walk into a wine shop, it's also Ishvara Srishti only. The bottle is created, the wine is created, all that is created. But the wine itself is not creating a desire in your head. The packing, the bottle, the cover, and all that by themselves are not. But what you perceive it as, based upon your perception of that, is not the very recognition of the object, cognition of the object, but what is coming after that. That is what is causing the problem of sukha and dukkha. So therefore, anvaya vyatireka needs to be done here in this point. That's why in the next verse, the faculty of perception perceives the object. The faculty of understanding imposes the notions on them, and the witness remains. And the witness is absolutely. The light of consciousness which has made sure that you know that object is not at all affected by that. But what comes in between is the latent impressions that about that object, which causes a notion of I like and I don't like, I want, I don't want. It is good, it is not good. So now Anvaya Vyatireka, what is to be done here? Anvaya Vyatirekabhyam Imayo Jiva Bandhakrit Satyasmin Sukha Dukke Statha Tasmin Asati Nadvayam Anvaya Vyatirekabhyam Dhimayo Jiva Bandhakrit Satyamasmin Sukha Dukke Statha Tasmin Asati Nadvayam Dhimayaha Jiva Bandhakrit. That's a point here. Anvaya Vyatirekabhyam, application of Anvaya, following, meaning accepting, acknowledging. Vyatireka, rejection, negation, denial. That art is to be accepted and what is to be rejected. By the application of a double method. What is that? Agreement and difference. We come to the conclusion that it is Dhimayaha Jiva Bandhakrit. So the objects and their arrangements, color and shape and other things by themselves need to be accepted. There. What is not to be accepted is what is created as a notion in our own mind as I like and I don't like, etc. That is Dhimaya. That is what is Jiva Bandhakrit. Jivasya Bandhanam. Jivam Bandhan. Jivaya Bandhakara. Jivasya bandhakarakam, bandhakrit. Bandhanam karoti. So here, for when these mental objects are there, pleasure and pain are also there. When they are not, there is neither pleasure or pain. Mental object, not the perceived object. That is there, then there is pain or pleasure. So that is example, given. The argument is how you prove that. So it said, asatya picha bahyarte swapnado bhatyate naraha samadhi supti sasamadhi supti murchasu satyapyasminna badhyate asatya picha bahyarte swapnado badhyate naraha samadhi supti murchasu satyapyasminna badhyate. So the previous verse, second line is Satyasmin Sati Asmin Sukha Dukke Staha. They are found to be having joys and sorrow. Tasmin na sati na dvayam. Tasmin asati na dvayam. Meaning, in that buddhimaya only it is these two. Not in the one which is the illuminating consciousness there. So, asatya bicha bahyarte. So, in the dream, swapna adau, in dream, etc., when bahyarte asati api, even though the outside objects are not there, naraha badhyate. Even in the dream, we are so capable of becoming miserable. How? Even though objects are not there, outside objects are not there. Maybe lying down next to you, but you're not aware of that. But in your mind, even though you are not cognizing an external object, which is objectionable, still in your own mind, you have created a strong experience of, I don't like it, I just get rid of it, all that. Yesterday I was talking to one family and they said, Swamiji, now the virtual reality, that it can be used for useful purposes also. Like, if you are looking at TV, the weather report is that necessarily it's going to rain or not according to your plan. But then beyond that, what happens is we just get caught up into the other things. Similarly, this, and when you see that, when you start living with that constantly, it creates a reality of its own. The children who are getting caught into that kind of a reality, when they take out that, it is exactly as real as that, or that is exactly as real. Which one is real? You will never be able to distinguish them. Similarly, what is seen as so real in our dream is, even though objects really externally not present, badhyate naraha, swapnado. At the same time, samadhi sukti murchasu. At the time when a person is in deep sleep or in the state of samadhi or in the state of faint, where the function of the mind, etc., are suspended, meaning what? The dhimayatvam is absent. So, in spite of the proximity of the outer objects also, in the case of sushupti, we can understand that the person is not cognizing. But the samadhi sthiti is where the person, even when he keeps his eyes open, where the mind is not engaging in cognizing based upon likes and dislikes, such a mind, such a person, even as he sees the object, there is anvaya vitireka is taking place in the form of I agree with its presence, but not going to agree with or continue to engage in labeling them as I want, I don't want, I like and I don't like. So even they are present, it is not creating any disturbance in his mind. So the one example that is given here is, see here, Jivan Mukta's faculty of perception continues, but owing to the cessation of egoistic portion of the faculty of understanding, the percepts do not affect him by way of causing pleasure or pain. Otherwise, Jivan Muktas have to be dead. You should not look at the world at all. Samadhi mein gaya, chalo, ho gaya. But then, and then you cannot call them a Jivan Mukta. Mukta ho gaya, cho chala gaya. Then who will be there to tell us what it is? Mahatmas, they come back and tell us after Samadhi Sthiti, they say, yes, I have understood this. Thereafter, there should not be any issue with this world at all. So what they have done? They have accepted the Isha Srishti, but rejected the Jiva Srishti. Clearly. That is the main point of this particular chapter, right? So continuing here, Dhruradesham gate putre jivatyevatra tatpita vipralambaka vakyena matva mritam matva praroditi Duradesham gate putre jivatyevatra tatpita vipralambaka vakyena mritam matva praroditi. Duradesham gate putre jivati sati saptami. As even the son who has gone to a different country, even while he is living, tat pita atra, here, that father of his, vipralambaka vakyena, by this word spoken by a person who is not speaking the truth. Pralambakam is to speak the truth. Vipralambakam. Vipralambaka vakyena. False knowledge or false news that he gives, mridam matva, thinking that he is dead because that he was reported by him, praroditi, he started to cry, rodanam karoti, becomes grieving because of that information that he received. And he said two friends were there, they were in the army. And during those times, the telegram only comes, your son dead. And it was delivered to a wrong address. So two friends, and they were in the same village or whatever, and they were neighbors also. Instead of giving to one particular door and the other, in the war, your son is dead. So obviously, then the father who received it thought that it is my son because he also went to war. And then it is seen that it is, so he started to cry. So that crying for that, then not the son who is not dead, is because of what? False information. Even though the fellow is alive, false information has caused great grief. In the same way, even though the object is what it is, false information is taking place inside. A notion is taking place inside, based upon your own past, whatever impression that has been created by you. Or it has been created by somebody else. Many times we come to misunderstand a person based upon somebody else's comment on that person. And then the way we look at it also will get colored by that. Until you get to know what the actual nature of that person, you come to have the same notion. This fellow is crook. So what happens? Mritebi tasmin vartayam ashrutayam naroditi atas sarvasya jivasya Bandakranmanasam jagat. Pratevi tasmin vartayam ashrutayam naroditi adas sarvasya jivasya bandakranmanasam jagat. On the other hand, actually a person is dead. Mrite api tasmin vartayam, who actually really died, but vartayam ashrutayam vartayam, because he never heard that information. It's not in this example where I said the delivery is given to the wrong person. In the case of a person actually died and that information never reached the parents, let us say. No, they have no idea about what happened. In the same way, ataha sarvasya jivasya bandhakrit, the one which is causing the bondage in all living being is manasam jagat, the world created by the human mind only. This shows that the real cause of man's bondage is his own mental world. The world outside is obviously is not the cause of all the troubles that we go through. So the Buddhist idea of denial of the world will give you peace is really is a dangerous proposition. Because when you deny the world, you deny all experience, good or bad. But we are not away from any experience. Every moment there is experience taking place of the world. Body is also world only. How will you just completely deny the existence of this world which you come to positively experience it? In other words, you then have to go and to stay in a samadhi and they never come out to the world. Why? Because if the world is there, problem is there. Sarvam dukkam dukkam shanigam. This kind of a wrong theory is floating around. That's why Shankaracharya got very upset with this. You are interpreting the whole truth in your own way and making the world useless. Because when the world is false, what else? What will you do with the world? You know, you may not even accept. Those who have traveled with me will know in Tibet. Do you see any building there? Electricity? Cultivation? Food? Nothing. Zero. Nobody cultivates anything. There are only two meals. Two what do you call that? Cuisines. Yak meat with goat milk. Goat meat with yak meat. Goat meat, yak milk, yak meat, goat milk. Two cuisines you get. Nothing. No industry, no electricity, no cultivation, no food. So what happened then? What is the condition? Sarvam dukkam dukkam shanigam. So Shankaracharya was very, no way I will allow this to come into the world, into our country. He threw them out of this. So the understanding should be that the world by itself is not the cause of the issue. Therefore, work in this world, make sure that you are able to produce and product and protect everybody and then live. But individually, do not cause this strong likes and dislikes and come to have a fight, to battle with the world all the time. But unfortunately, what happens is that what is to the extreme is always attracted. On the one extreme, the Semitic religion says, God alone decides everything, you have no control over everything, and go and surrender completely, and there's nothing you can do. One side, extreme. Nothing is there. Another extreme. You are useless and the God is also not there, and then the world is useless. Go to the other extreme. The middle path is that. That's why Bhagavan Krishna is very clear about that. Don't go to the extent of saying nothing you can do, everything is predetermined. That is also wrong. Unproductive existence. Here, you deny the world. And your own existence is sarvam kshanikam dukkam jaranam gacchami. What? Anandoham. Joy is my nature, not dukkham. Discover that joy which is innate in you and do not go to the extremes of total uselessness and waiting for something to happen out of the blue, where you become unproductive. On the other hand, you say, nothing to do. Hai hi nahi kuch. So Shankaracharya is very clear. Hey, properly understand this. Without this, that's why he said, the argument will come now. Buddhist argument will come now. And you would say, what's the need for Atmajnana? What do you mean by it? What is the need for Atmajnana? So we'll see that in the next class. Om Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinah, Sarve Santu Niramaya, Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu, Ma Kaschid Dukkha Bhad Bhavet. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.